2, 3. Hello, my friends and gems. We're back here and we are going to do a continuation of the Mitochondriac Manifesto. It looks like you guys have really been enjoying the breakdown chunk sizes here of little segments of this book that is by R.D. Lee, and him and I, we are both students and proteges of Dr. Jack Kruse, the quantum photobiomodulation expert who happens to be a brain, neck, and spine surgeon. He's quite a brilliant man. I really would encourage everyone here, especially you, that person that's looking at me through the camera right now, whether you see this live or whether you are seeing this on the replay, put Dr. Jack Kruse in your YouTube search and just start to listen to his talks. I try to take down whatever, I try to basically language everything into more layman terms so that people like yourself, people who don't necessarily have a science or a medical background, can actually understand the concepts that he's teaching. And that's also what R.D. Lee is trying to do with this book as well. And I think he does a great job. So let's talk about this. Carol, thank you for being our wonderful co-host. You're always so faithful and always here every time. And I really love, appreciate, and support and respect you. Thank you, my friend, Jem.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoy being here. I learn something new every time. Yeah. Every time.
So. I appreciate that. And you are in the beautiful state of Yelm, Washington.
Yes.
Which I have a sense is kind of sunny today, right?
Very sunny, very warm and beautiful.
Very sunny, very warm, very beautiful. It was very overcast, a lot of marine layer up until noon today. And now it's just starting to burn off. So we actually, for the last hour and a half, almost 2 hours, we now have sunlight and bright blue skies, which I love and adore.
Yes, exactly.
Gotta get our vitamin D and our vitamin A, right?
That's right.
Okay, so we're here on the Mitochondriac Manifesto, and we are actually on page 26. And it says here, and I'm going to show you what the page looks like here. We're right at the last page of chapter 2, and it says Darwin did not say that life evolves as a result of random mutation and natural selection. So, what is he going to share and discuss?
Oh, yeah.
Page, I'm really curious. It says evolutionary biologists. Those are biologists that just study evolution over the millennia, okay? Like to use the work of Charles Darwin. We all learned about Chuck Darwin when we were in elementary school.
Yeah.
Chucky. Which was not even his own. Interesting. They like to use the work of Charles Darwin, and it says here, which was not even his own, to explain how life evolves over time. They claim his writings say a series of incremental adaptive changes over a number of generations add up to a gradual changing of species, which we call evolution. They say Darwin proclaimed evolution happened as a result of random mutation and natural selection. The best genes wins, basically. Okay, so that in the first paragraph, I already have some commentary to give. So they're talking about how Darwin's natural selection theory, of course, we know that cavemen had bigger brow bones, bigger cheekbones, bigger jaw bones, and bigger noses, bigger ears. They were bigger, brawnier individuals, men and women alike, thousands of years ago. And Darwin says that because of the natural selection theory, that there were random mutations. So what's a mutation? A mutation is basically an alteration of the DNA, which means that something in the DNA is randomly, in theory, randomly, it was taken out because it no longer served a function, which I beg to differ, because now we've known as a direct result of, I actually have had the privilege to interview the father of modern epigenetics. The father of epigenetics is Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's a biologist who wrote The Biology of Belief. Yeah. He's written so many New York Times bestsellers. He was doing stem cell research in the 60s. And then he also taught medical school through the late 60s, the 70s, the 80s. And then he started observing what he saw at a molecular level, because he is a molecular biologist, like I said, who taught medical school, but also did believe it or not, stem cell research in the 60s. For those of you who are thinking that stem cells are just a nouveau thing, that is just like all the rage now, that it's just now coming into being, no. This has been going on since the 60s. And in fact, Carol and I both use the cell activation patches that David Schmidt, he's been doing stem cell research and inventing things like these patches and other things, activating our own body's stem cells for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So the whole stem cell thing, and what I would say that, yes, we thought that the random mutations took place as a result of things no longer being needed. And so that's why that mutation took place. And we see it all throughout nature that things have changed. Although if you look at trees, trees are trees are trees. Trees really, I don't really know of trees that mutate. I know of trees that have been biologically altered through bioengineering. But when it comes to, a redwood today is very much, other than size, a redwood from 500 years ago is obviously going to be smaller, but it's still the same redwood tree. And palm trees, I would say the same thing as well. But what we know from epigenetics is that, we used to think, and one of the discoveries that Dr. Bruce Lipton brought to light is that we used to think that if you were to make believe, I'm not good at having props because I don't prepare things in advance. I'm going off of existing knowledge and also downloads. So I'm just going to use this as an example of a cell. And if you were to make believe that in the middle, you have a nucleus, and that this is all the cell plasma, and this outer ring, we're going to call that the cell membrane. And when I was in school, all my elementary school, biology class, physics class, pre-med, we were always taught that the cell was controlled by the nucleus, which is the brain in the middle of each cell. And of course, I always teach you guys, we have about 56 trillion cells in the human body, of which, without stem cell activation patches, 2 billion turn over every day as a normal course for every human being. That's just how it is. It's part of our how we are made and part of our original programming. So if you look at this cell membrane, what Bruce discovered in his science lab as he was studying stem cells and other cellular organisms, he started noticing, wait a minute, it's not the nucleus that controls the expression of that cell, it's the cell membrane. Because depending on what the cell membrane was exposed to, that altered how that cell behaved and how it expressed. So then that is what made him realize that it was epigenetics, and it wasn't what we had been previously taught, that your genes, it's like once you're issued a set of genes, that's it. There's no alteration, there's no changes, you're pretty much stuck with what you got. No, the cell membrane will react to its environment. And we think of environment always being outside, but guess what? All 56 trillion cells are inside your body. And they're reacting to the environment that's inside your body and outside your body. So it matters what you eat, what you smell, what you drink, what you absorb through the skin, what you inhale through sprays, whatever you use to spray around your house, whether it's to clean or whether it's to deodorize or whether it's to perfume. A lot of people like to use air fragrance to make your room smell better. For your sake, I hope they're organic, because again, it's going to affect your cells. So the thing that we now know, it's now it's kind of old news, but still there are people running around thinking that it's the cell nucleus when it's actually the cell membrane. And the interesting part is that we call this outer ring the cell membrane. The word brain is in membrane. Memory, brain. So the clue is actually in the word membrane. It's letting you know that membrane, that memory brain, is going to retain the memory of whatever it was exposed to express, good or bad, inside that cell. Something to think about. Okay, moving on to the next paragraph. A lot just in that one little paragraph. So the next part says here, but that's not what Darwin's work really said, at least not in the first 6 editions. Truth be told, the notion of survival of the fittest is actually a misrepresentation of what Darwin originally wrote in The Origin of Species when it was first published in 1859. What he actually said up until it was changed in about 1871 was that conditions of existence are far more important than natural selection. In other words, life purposely changes in genetic expression to suit the environment it finds itself in. It does not change by random accident and then survive to reproduce or not, which is kind of what I just said. I haven't read this book in advance. I'm reading it along with you guys, okay? So very fascinating. So meaning and I did not know that his Origin of Species was changed in 1871. So that's kind of interesting. I'm just being that's now brought to my awareness. So it says here, meaning the ability to adapt to your surroundings is no accident. Sidebar. God is no fool. He knows exactly what he's doing. And it doesn't matter if you want to call him God or source, universe, you know, the energy that's the all, whatever the label you want to pick. I don't care. So whatever you want to call it, it's fine by me. So in case anybody has an issue with the word God. So it's built into the biology of all species. All species. That means that there's no exceptions. All species. Through adaptability, programming hardwired into our DNA and expressed through epigenetics. Through epigenetics, nature gave every species some degree of flexibility in how its genes are expressed into physical traits and behavioral characteristics. So, Darwin, unaware of epigenetics, mitochondria, and biophysics in his day, was actually telling us that genes or accidental, no such thing as accidental, but accidental DNA alterations don't initiate change, which the environment then judges to be successful or unsuccessful. Instead, when your environment changes, life alters its characteristics as much as it can based on how much adaptability it has built into its genome. Man being the most adaptable of all higher life forms. Now, I want to just pause there because, yes, as human beings, we are the most adaptable. And just to give you an example, if I gave a horse some sort of thing that let's say a dog, humans, we can eat grapes and we're fine. And if we eat something that is toxic to us, we'll get nauseous because of the toxin surfacing and we'll throw it up. But guess what? If we were to give a grape to a dog, dogs don't mix well with grapes. Grapes are very poisonous to dogs. And even 1 or 2 grapes can kill and shut down the kidneys of a little, 5 or 10 pound dog. So you never give grapes to dogs. So they don't have the ability to just throw that up. They, of course, everybody's witnessed their dog eating grass. They do that kind of like we eat lettuce. They do that as part of their cleansing mechanism. But there are certain things that, because they are canines and not humans, they don't have a nervous system and an entire biological system sophisticated enough to purge them. And of course, we have a threshold of a certain amount. I don't know where that sound came from, but it came from somewhere. But the bottom line is that our bodies are quite adaptable, and there is a threshold at which there's so much poison in our bodies that our bodies will shut down as well. But there's a lot of things that the human body can tolerate before that takes place. Okay, so let's go on here. So as he suspected, that's Darwin, and we know now, the environment is what changes our mitochondria. That's what this entire book is about, and what Dr. Jack Kruse talks about at great length. So for better or for worse, particularly temperature and electromagnetism. And the state of our mitochondria is what produces wellness or disease in a person through epigenetics. Now, not your own genes. Mom's mitochondria then get passed on to her children in the state of vitality or fragility. It's true. It's a true thing. One of the things that a lot of people are not aware of is that any mother who gives birth to a child, we have not just our mitochondria passes on to our children, not the father's mitochondria. That's why genetic testing and so forth is a matrilineal type process. But the other thing is that our children have our stem cells in them. As long as they're alive, there's parts of us that are still in our children, which is part of the entrainment, why we can feel what's going on with our kids. Maybe it's not an intellectual process, it's more of an intuitive process, but we're still probably a survival mechanism, in humans, to have the mother still have parts of her inside the child for the entire child's lifetime is part of our human design. And there's not a whole lot that's talked about when it comes to that aspect. But I was just recently reading a research paper where it was addressing that issue. And there's so many spiritual and metaphysical things that I think that can be explained from a scientific perspective once you're aware of this fact that I just shared with you. And I'm sure, Carol, because you have a couple boys, and I know that you guys have been a very active family throughout your entire lifetime, from skiing to boating. I'm sure you can probably share stories of different circumstances where logically they couldn't be explained, but as a mother, that intuition, that connection and entrainment is always there, right? Because you still have your two boys.
Yeah, it's always there. It's always there. So, yeah.
Good. So that's how characteristics appear to evolve in an individual and over generations. More than anything else, mitophysical exposure drive biological changes and adaptation, including metabolism, food compatibility, body shape and composition, skin color, constitution, and longevity. In simple terms, environmental forces affecting our mitochondria and circadian biology change our gene expressions to suit the world around us. And it's our mitophysical environment. By mitophysical, he's talking about the physical properties and aspects of our mitochondria, which are the tiny little organs that are inside of each cell. And that's the little manufacturing plant that processes energy in our body. So, and it's our mitophysical environment more than anything that makes us adapt, not our genetic accidents that survive or fail the reproduction process. Isn't that fascinating?
Fascinating is right. Absolutely.
So when we come back next time to the Mitochondriac Manifesto, we're going to be starting chapter 3. I'm still in the process. I'm excited. I just verified last night. I actually spoke with Lex Gillette, fascinating individual. Lex Gillette is a blind Paraolympian, and he's going to be on this YouTube channel as a guest. I'm going to be interviewing him. He has had multiple awards. He's been in 5 consecutive Paralympics. He's medaled in every one of those Olympics, and he holds he's a world record holder. He has 18 different awards. He's quite an accomplished individual, and he's blind. He's blind since he was a child. And it's just fascinating when you learn about the human potential. And he talks about how eyesight's not required when you have vision. And of course, vision is not contingent on your eyes, it's contingent on your mind.
That's right.
So even though he's blind, he can still see inside his brain, even though he's never seen in 3D before. And so he's going to share with us about the nuances of that and how he's been able to navigate and live a completely fulfilling life and really excel at extraordinary levels, despite the fact that he's completely blind. So I'm very excited about being able to share his story. I do look forward to reaching R.D. Lee. I'm still in the process of contacting him. And when the divine puts that connection, we will be talking with him shortly. Do you have any questions, Carol, about anything that we discussed here?
No, this is, I really enjoy this because it is unfolding information that I've had over the years. And now it's coming forth. And then also the addition is the patches, the stem cell patches, and how this is all interconnecting now. And I really like that.
Yeah, it's everything is connected. And you know, they sometimes say that, you know, when you're driving your car, you can't necessarily connect the dots, but when you look in your rear view mirror, then you can, when you look back at your history, then you can kind of connect the dots of your life, why this happened, why that happened. You're like, oh, everything is there for a purpose. There's no such thing as an accident. So
absolutely.
thank you for tuning in, tapping in, turning in today to another episode here at Love and Money Secrets TV. I've got some also, in addition to Lex Gillette, I have some exciting testimonials that I just uploaded to my YouTube channel this week. And I have 3 or 4 more that are coming down the pike that I'm very excited to share with you as well. So just keep on visiting Love and Money Secrets TV, or go to damelillianwalker.com on your Google or whatever your browser URL is. It'll take you straight to our channel here, and you'll get to see these amazing guests. Some of these stories are just like, just when you thought you'd heard it all, your job is the ground. And you're like, oh my gosh, can't believe that happened to them. They went through that, they survived it, and they're recovered from all of that and then some. It is nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Wonderful information.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as always, ciao for all. I love you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.